Hello and welcome to the 2021 Mystery Blanket Club. This is the 14th Mystery Blanket Club that I've run, and it's always a really exciting time at the beginning of a brand new adventure. So I'm thrilled to bits that you have decided to join me this year. And I think with everything that's been going on in the world over the past 12 months, this new club is something that's really needed at the moment, something to indulge yourself in, something to look forward to every month, with new patterns being sent to you over the next 10 months. So this is the place that I would advise you come to at the beginning of every month, because in my blog there is lots of tips, lots of advice, lots of stuff that you need to read really before you begin knitting your patterns. This year I've decided to include videos of any knitting techniques that I think might be useful for you to help you knit the patterns. This is something that I haven't done previously, but I feel it would be a good help to many of you if you are struggling with a technique. So after this introduction, there will be several different techniques shown to help you with your first set of squares. So we're beginning with 3 squares in this first month. That's to kind of ease you gently into the project. I didn't want to bamboozle you with too many squares, especially as we have lots of new members this year, lots of new people that have never taken part in the club before. Next month in March, you will be given 4 squares, and then from April onwards it will be 5 or 6 squares a month to the end of the project. I would advise this is where you come at the beginning of every month to read the blog, to look at the techniques, and hopefully then you will find here all the help that you need to knit your squares. But there are other groups that are available that you could go to for help. There's a very good group for the Mystery Blanket on Ravelry. And if you want to email me and ask me a question, I do reply to every email. Do bear with me if I'm a little busy, but I try to get back to everybody as soon as possible to give you the help and assistance that you need. We have posted all the parcels. Now, hopefully you're sitting there with your parcel on your lap, knitting needles ready to go. But with the current sort of global situation at the moment, some of you may still be waiting for your parcels. So I would just ask if you could be just patient and just wait for it to arrive. It will arrive, and hopefully very soon if you're still waiting. Printed patterns for those people that paid for them will arrive in a separate card-backed brown envelope. We didn't put them in with the knitting yarn. We decided to send them separately, and that will happen every month now for the next 9 months after this. You'll receive your patterns in that same way. The second part of your kit, you've only got part 1 of your kit at the moment. The second part will be posted to you in June. So we've got the first lot of parcels out the way, the second lot are to come. There's some new colours, some different colours, as well as some of the ones you've already got in that second parcel. So there's still lots of excitement to come. I'm not going to talk for too long because most of the stuff that I could talk to you about is actually in the blog. So I'm just going to say a couple of things about this month's patterns. First of all, just bear with us a little bit with the colours in the mail out. We had to tweak some of the colours. I wasn't overly happy with this turquoise colour here. It was coming out a little bit pale blue in the PDF, but we didn't catch that before it went to print or before we finalised it. So I would advise that when you look at the mail out, you really take notice of the little of the references to shades. We give the shade number and the colour name of the yarn in every pattern. Don't rely just on the photographs, because as I said, the colour matching sometimes isn't spot on. We do our very best to try and make it as close as possible, but with differences that there are between the monitors and what you actually get printed and what comes up on your screen, it's very difficult to get it exact. So please do read the patterns very carefully and pay attention to the codes and the colour names, which are correct in the mail outs. A couple of things I have noticed in the knitting techniques, there should be the instruction of how to place a bead, which uses the using the slip stitch method, but unfortunately this isn't there. So I'm going to correct that for the next mail out in March. It will be in there from there onwards. But in the demos that I'm going to do, that hopefully you'll watch, I show you how to place a bead using the slip stitch method. So you will be able to see it. Secondly, there is actually two errors, but it's the same error that I've just noticed in two of the squares. It's actually in the pattern note and tip on page 8, the third tip down, which talks about rows 20, 24 and 28. And what I noticed when I was just reading back the other night and having a look through is that I refer to the stitches as being knitted on those rows, and actually they're purled. And the same happens on page 10, bullet point number 2, where I talk again about the same kind of technique, but I refer to the stitches being knitted and they are actually purled. Okay, we have corrected this on the PDF that you've all been emailed, but unfortunately it was too late for the printed pattern, so I do apologise for that, but hopefully that is clear now. If there are any addendums, and we really try so hard, believe it or not, we try so hard to get the patterns exact, but just sometimes we all miss something. We have 2 test knitters. I actually knit all the squares myself as well. I knit a whole blanket, and we have an editor, a pattern editor as well, working on it. We look at it time and time again before it goes to print, but sometimes the odd thing slips through. If any errors are found, they are listed on the addendums page, which can be found on my website. It's at the foot of the home page. If you scroll down to the bottom, there's a little a titling there that says addendum, and if you click on that, it will tell you if any errors have been found, and hopefully there won't be too many this year. One last little bit of advice. What I would suggest is that you perhaps knit squares 8 and 15 before you knit square 1. This comment is probably aimed more at newer knitters, or maybe people that haven't joined the club before. Square 1 has quite a lot going on in it. It's got knitted braids, it's got slip stitch beading, there's quite a bit to handle there. So if you would prefer an easier, perhaps a slightly easier start to your squares this month, perhaps try square number 8 first and then move on to square 1 or 15 after that. If you feel like just going in feet first and just going for it, then do that. That's perfectly fine. I really hope you enjoy your squares this month. It's been such fun designing this project, and I hope you all enjoy it. You enjoy the squares, you find it challenging, and that you just enjoy yourself, that you have a good time. It's something to look forward to. And last thing I'm going to say is, don't worry if you fall behind. I really want you to enjoy this, to take time and care over your squares, and to have the most fabulous time this year in the Mystery Blanket Club. And I shall see you next month. Have fun!